This is a true story. A convicted criminal was strapped to an electric chair for execution. After being shocked unconscious, his body caught fire and he died. News of this spread quickly among the prisoners at Mecklenburg Prison. In the US, 6 of them, all murderers, became terrified, knowing they might one day face the same fate. The horror of the electric chair haunted them, making them desperate to escape. For over a year, they carefully planned their escape. On May 31st, 1984, they put their plan into action. That day, after playing basketball, 2 guards escorted them back to their cells. As the iron gate opened, 2 prisoners pretended to argue and started fighting. The guards focused on breaking up the fight, unaware that one prisoner, Clanton, had quietly slipped into the restroom. Later that evening, around 8 p.m., a guard needed to use the toilet. He tried to open the restroom door, but found it locked. Since the door often malfunctioned, he didn't suspect anything. In reality, Clanton was inside, holding the door handle tightly to keep it shut. The guard, feeling urgent, decided to use an outside restroom instead. Meanwhile, another prisoner waited for a moment when only one guard remained in the control room. He knocked on the glass window, asking the guard to pass a book to another prisoner in block 2. This was a common request, so the guard left the control room without suspicion. However, the guards had a bad habit. They often left the control room door slightly open, thinking the extra security gate was enough to keep prisoners out. The prisoners had noticed this weakness long ago and used it as part of their plan. As the guard stepped out, a prisoner said, "Thank you." But this wasn't just a polite gesture. It was a secret signal to Clanton. At that moment, Clanton rushed out of the restroom, dashed into the control room, and unlocked cell block 1. The freed prisoners immediately overpowered the guard, took his uniform, tied him up, and gagged him. When the second guard returned from the restroom, they overpowered him as well. Now, with full control, they moved to the next phase, taking over the main control room. They forced the captured guards to call nearby officers, luring them one by one into a trap. As each guard arrived, they were subdued until the prisoners had complete control of the cell block. Next, they made a senior officer call the main control room, telling the guard on duty that 2 officers would be coming to take over his shift. 2 prisoners, now dressed as guards, walked toward the main control room. From a distance, the duty officer saw them and, assuming they were real guards, unlocked the door. As they got closer, he noticed their unfamiliar faces, but it was too late. The 2 disguised prisoners swiftly overpowered him. Now the only obstacle was the prison's main gate, heavily guarded with officers and armed sentries. Even if they took out the gate officer, walking out freely would raise suspicion. But they had a clever plan. They forced a guard to call the gate officers, claiming a bomb had been found in the storage room and needed to be taken out immediately. A while back, someone had reported that prisoners were trying to make a bomb, though nothing was ever found. Still, the fear remained in the guards' minds. Hearing the urgency in the officer's voice, the gatekeepers believed the lie and opened the gates, arranging a vehicle to transport the supposed bomb. Dressed in warehouse worker uniforms, 6 prisoners carried a large object wrapped in cloth, pretending it was a bomb. 2 of them shouted, "Stay back! This is dangerous!" as they ran toward the exit. The other 2 carried fire extinguishers, following closely behind to make the act more convincing. With this clever trick, they fooled everyone and drove straight out of the prison. However, their freedom didn't last long. They had no solid escape plan beyond the prison walls. Lacking proper coordination, they split up after driving a few miles. Just hours later, Clanton and Peterson were caught, still wearing their stolen prison guard uniforms, while casually eating cheese at a laundromat. Another escapee, Tuggle, continued committing crimes, stealing cars and robbing stores. On June 8th, he was arrested during a store robbery. Jones fled into the forest, but after days without food and being bitten by insects, he broke down emotionally and surrendered on June 9th. The Millwood brothers were tracked down by the police after their relatives unknowingly mentioned their whereabouts in a phone call. On June 19th, while partying in a garage with friends, they were arrested. Interestingly, the mastermind behind this escape wasn't even among the 6 who fled. A prisoner named Dennis Stockton had planned to escape with them, but backed out at the last minute. His lawyer believed his appeal had a high chance of success, so he chose to stay. However, his appeal was later rejected, and in the end, all 7 men were sentenced to death. 6 of them eventually sat in the electric chair, the very fate they had tried so hard to avoid.